All right, well, it has been a wild 24 hours in the world of MMA, so I thought rather than some grand topic for us to talk about today, I would just give my takes on some of the biggest stories of the last 24 hours. The two that I wanted to give my takes on was obviously the one that we are all talking about if we're involved in MMA in any way, and that's Ian Garry. And the other one that I wanted to talk about is my favorite fighter, Tony Ferguson. He is rambling some mad stuff again, so I thought I'd react to Tony Ferguson's pre-fight press interviews. Let's get right into it. Ian Garry is pulling out of UFC 296 because he is sick, and the most reliable source we have on how serious this actually is the always honest, never has an agenda, Ariel Helwani. Now, before we get too deep into this and really jump on Ian Garry, which I know we all want to do, I'm sure we are all going to do, let's just pause for a second and notice that this story started off with Ian Garry taking his sick son to the hospital, who is having pneumonia symptoms or has pneumonia, or Ian has pneumonia, the son has pneumonia. The kid has the same symptoms as Ian Garry. And I believe that Ian Garry's son is pretty young, like underneath 5 years old. And pneumonia is very dangerous for young children. So just before we really stack onto Ian Garry, let's just tread a little bit respectfully here, because we don't want the worst to happen. This is just a little kid, right? Like, little kids being involved in this, not cool at all. And, you know, I wish all the best for Ian Garry's son, honestly. Let's just get that right out of the way. That is a 100% sincere. Now, moving on to Ian Garry. If Ian Garry is as sick as Ariel Helwani makes him out to be, then for real, Ian Garry needs to be put on watch. Like 24/7, someone needs to be around him just looking at him, okay? Because Ian Garry is an extremely emotional man-child, and the entire MMA world has turned on him in the last month. And it's been Ian Garry's dream to be the next Conor McGregor. And I don't remember when we've ever seen an athlete as hated for as intense as it has been in our world in MMA as it has been for Ian Garry. He is so far from Conor McGregor at this point. It is crazy. Like, this kid's whole dreams have come crashing down on him. And now, in the eyes of the world, he can't make it to the cage. Like Kevin Holland said, can't make it to the fight, lose the fight. All of this is happening to Ian Garry right now as he's lying in a hospital bed somewhere. Just imagine what he's going through. So keep an eye on Ian Garry. It's not good. The dude's emotional. Now, Henry Cejudo brought up something really interesting with this, and that is that it could be stress related. And I think Henry's onto something here. Look, your body does have a physical response to stress, and Gary's been cutting weight, right? Apparently, Ian Garry's diet is not a complete diet. And of course, he's been getting on a plane and traveling over to America with lots of people in the winter season. So all of this is lowering your immune system. So there's a lot of reasons that gone into this, that why Ian Garry's body could have triggered a physical response in the form of sickness and stress. All of that just completely rocks your immune system. And Ian Garry has been stressing about this press conference coming up non-stop. Like every single day there have been headlines aimed at Ian Garry and what a softie he is. The heat he himself put on Neil Magny, it's been a constant barrage after now he's ripped off that Adidas commercial on his Instagram, he's blocked people on his Twitter, and his whole wife is like, his wife is doing the talking for him. Like, she's his manager. I think all of this was going to culminate at the press conference, and his body has just naturally pulled him out of it. So I think Henry Cejudo was onto something there, and all of this can lead to a physical response in the form of pneumonia. And once again, another man has told him to pull out. The UFC fight doctor has told him to pull out of the fight. Second piece of news that I wanted to talk about is Tony Ferguson and David Goggins. Again, David Goggins will be in Tony Ferguson's corner. It's like, fine, whatever. At this point, we're all into it. Like, let's just allow the madness of Tony Ferguson's career to completely unfold. This is why we love Tony Ferguson Fight Week, and we should all appreciate this while he is here. Tony is one of a kind in the world. Like, what world are we living in where David Goggins is going to be stepping next to the cage with Tony Ferguson? It'll make absolutely no difference at all, right? We've talked about this before. Tony's problems are his speed. In his old age, his body can't keep up with how quickly he's seeing things, and his ducks and his weaves and his spins are just too slow, and people can end up putting it on Tony Ferguson. David Goggins is the toughness coach of the world. All he's going to be doing is sitting in Tony's corner and encouraging him to try and take Paddy into deeper waters, encouraging Tony to keep going. It's just going to lead to Tony taking more punishment. Ferguson has never quit. Yeah, like look at the fight with Justin Gaethje. He got the hell beat out of him, and Tony wanted to keep going. His corner pulled him out of it, or the referee stopped it, I believe. And then against Oliveira, Tony was in there until his arm nearly got snapped off. He didn't tap against Bobby Green. He just got choked out like a lifeless corpse withering around on the cage. So Goggins encouraging Tony to keep taking punishment isn't going to help at all. And then the second thing that's come up is Tony, throughout the entire fight week, in his post-fight press conferences, has been talking about this massive losing streak that he's on is just part of his game plan to get Khabib back. And in Tony's mind, it nearly worked because they were almost coaches on tough. So Tony isn't taking any responsibility for all the losses he's been going through. That was part of some 4D chess game, trust the plan, like we haven't heard that before. And his Nate Diaz loss was, he was just setting Nate Diaz up with a win. He was being a company man, and he only lost to Bobby Green because he got his eyes scratched out or got headbutt. Like none of this is Tony's fault in Tony's mind. Tony's here to switch it on, but it's not Tony's fault in Tony's mind, but Tony needs David Goggins to reset his mind. It doesn't make any sense. It's Tony Ferguson. Why would it? Anyway, they're my thoughts on the last 12, 24 hours of MMA. It has been madness. This is why we love pay-per-views. If you guys are enjoying the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button down there, and I'll see you all in the next video.